Most men destroy their presence without realizing it, not by being weak, not by being emotional, but by constantly explaining who they are. Watch what happens. A man starts a business. Immediately he tells everyone. A man begins improving. Immediately he announces it. A man makes a difficult decision. Immediately he justifies it. And the strange thing is, the more he talks about who he is, the less people feel it, because real presence works backwards. The strongest men rarely describe themselves. They let reality do it for them. Most over-explaining isn't communication. It's anxiety looking for relief. A man isn't sure if he's disciplined, so he tells everyone. A man isn't confident in his decision, so he defends it. A man isn't certain about his direction, so he keeps explaining it. Why? Because uncertainty feels uncomfortable, and validation feels safe. You want someone to believe you before you've become undeniable. You want confirmation before results exist. You want reassurance that you're on the right path before you've walked it. The explanation becomes emotional insurance. It's trying to reduce the gap between who you are and who you're claiming to be. But every time you ask people to believe in you before evidence appears, you weaken your frame. Because on some level, people can sense the doubt underneath the words. They can feel that you're not certain enough to move forward quietly. And that uncertainty spreads. Human beings are observation machines. We say we trust words, but we trust patterns. Think about the people you actually respect. Did they convince you with explanations? Or did they simply become undeniable? The strongest presence in any room usually belongs to the person who needs the least validation, because certainty creates silence. Uncertainty creates explanations. Watch what happens when a man is truly confident in his direction. He doesn't tell you about it. He doesn't defend it. He doesn't ask you to believe in it. He just moves forward, and people follow not because they were persuaded, but because they noticed movement. The moment a man becomes obsessed with controlling how others see him, he loses the ability to simply become who he claims to be. Because energy spent explaining is energy not spent improving. And people can feel that tension immediately, even when they can't explain why. There's something off about a man who talks more about becoming than actually becoming. There comes a point where talking becomes a distraction. Not because communication is bad, but because words can create the illusion of progress. You spend 30 minutes talking about going to the gym. You feel productive. You feel like you've made progress. But the gym doesn't know you talked about it. Your body doesn't care what you said. Reality only responds to action. Talking about discipline feels productive, but discipline is the gym, not the conversation about the gym. Talking about becoming stronger feels productive. But your character doesn't strengthen through explanation. It strengthens through repetition. Only behavior survives. And eventually something powerful happens. You realize that all the explaining wasn't helping you become. It was just delaying you from becoming. So you stop. You stop trying to sound like the man you want to become. You start becoming him. And the silence that follows is deafening. Most men explain themselves because they're terrified of being misunderstood. Calm men understand something different. People will misunderstand you anyway. No amount of explaining guarantees understanding. No amount of defending guarantees respect. No amount of persuasion guarantees belief. So they stop negotiating their identity. Someone doubts them? Fine. Someone disagrees? Fine. Someone misreads their intentions? Fine. because they understand something most people never learn. Time reveals character better than arguments ever could. Results eventually settle conversations words never could. A man doesn't have to defend his integrity. Integrity defends itself through consistency. A man doesn't have to announce his discipline. Discipline announces itself through results. A man doesn't have to explain his direction. Direction announces itself through movement. Presence isn't created when you speak. Presence is created when your behavior becomes predictable. When your actions and values align long enough, people stop listening to what you say and start trusting who you are. That's the moment real authority appears. Not forced authority, not performative confidence. Real authority, the kind that doesn't need announcements, the kind that doesn't need explanations, the kind that enters a room quietly and is felt immediately, because consistency speaks in a language words can never imitate. When a man does what he says he'll do, repeatedly, without needing credit, without needing recognition, something shifts in how people perceive him. He becomes trustworthy not through speeches, but through patterns. The world is full of men describing the person they want to become. Very few are willing to quietly become him. And that's why the strongest presence in the room is rarely the loudest voice. It's usually the man who no longer needs to explain himself. Because when your actions become undeniable, your silence starts doing all the talking.